Being a profitable trader is simply protecting your capital before anything else and normalizing to win more trades than you actually lose. What is up, beautiful traders? How you guys doing? I am doing absolutely lovely. It is a chilled Wednesday, right? And I want to do a little chart breakdown over here to show you guys how I managed to capitalize on this particular trade that I have over here, right? But before we do all of that good stuff, if you're new to the channel, welcome. We trade in Nasdaq over here. If you're returning, welcome back. You already know what's up. Don't forget to hit the like button, turn your post notifications, and subscribe to the channel, because when we hit 10,000 subscribers, I'm going to be doing a little giveaway, finding 10 different accounts and giving 10 different subscribers free mentorship, right? And you don't want to miss that, right? So we have absolutely obliterated this market with the whole team, as you can see right over here. And I'm about to show you the simple strategy that I use. Really simple. I'm just going to break it down for you guys, and I want you to pay attention, right? So let's just hop onto these charts and get to explaining. Okay, team, so let's just talk about this particular gold trade, which was our first trade right over here. You can see that we scooped a good 70 pips on gold, right, like that. You can see that this is the setup right over here, and I want to just explain it as brief as possible. So make sure you're listening to each and everything I am saying, right? So on a higher time frame, you already know that gold has been rejecting at this particular zone, right? You can see that this is a bank zone. So it either would have broken out or rejected. And then if you go on to the 15-minute time frame, which I used for my entry point, you can see like at the rejection zone, we have a dodgy candlestick sitting right at that spot. So I just waited for the next candlestick to form, and then after it had formed, I hopped right onto this particular trade, and obviously dropping the signal right over here, we capitalized on gold. And then next, you can see it is the Nasdaq trade, which we absolutely also obliterated. Just look at how beautiful this looks, right? And obviously, you know, we did everything with the team. I even told them when I was adding entries right over here, and we just capitalized on the trade. You see, this was our first entry right at this zone, which is here. And then when we broke the little trend line over here, I added entries to this particular trade. And then I told them when I was adding the entries, and we added the entries together, and then it just shot up right to the top. So we absolutely just capitalized on that particular trade. And that is what I actually just want to talk about, right? So we have passed the 20,000 point on Nasdaq once again. And will Nasdaq be able to go and break the all-time highs once again, right? Let's just dive right into this explanation. So all thanks to Mr. Powell, you can see that the Nasdaq has actually created another higher low at this spot, right? You remember from the weekly analysis, we're talking about this level right here. And we did say that we have this resistance zone, right? And then we probably wouldn't have respected this zone, but the market respected this little bank zone right over here, and it swept off right from the spot, which was our trade on Monday. If you can see right over here, we actually just wrote this little buy over here, and then we didn't exit all of our positions. I think I took a little bit of 80 pips. Let me just confirm that. So it was this particular trade. You already know that this was during the session, right? So on Monday, our Monday trade was something like this, and then we had to exit the position right about this zone. Nothing too crazy. So you can see that this was now the Tuesday. It came back to this point of interest, and then we absolutely just rode off this trade during the news with Mr. Powell, right? And once again, like I said, Nasdaq is at the 20,000 point at the moment of recording this video. And tonight we have FOMC, which is absolutely going to be crazy. So I want to know if Nasdaq would actually break out of these highs or reject at this particular zone. You already know that we are not looking at just this zone. Obviously, we have to consider the wick right at the spot, because the market can just come to this particular zone right over here and then play around in this area. It's now kind of like a little region, like a little, you know, zone that it can come and, you know, form a little wicks. It can even wick out of this zone, but close inside of it is still considered as a rejection. So we want to see a literal breakout and a close if we are going to sweep off the highs at this particular spot, right? But if it does not do that, we will reject right down with this market, right? So one thing for sure is I am also going to tell the free signal group, if you're not in there, you're actually just missing out on really good setups, right? So obviously we are taking the trades in the inner circle for the first movement, right? And then when I see potential of a second wave, I always give the setup like this, right? So you can see that the setup was dropped right over here, and guess what? It actually then just played out really well. So from around about this zone, if you're in the free signal group, you would have waited for the breakout of this particular zone. Let me just mark it right over here. You can see what time frame is this that I was using, right? It's around this zone, so that's a 30-minute time frame, right? So this could, it could have been around about this zone, right? We are always talking about liquidity areas in this channel, right? So you can see that if you have seen the breakout of this particular zone and then gone to an even lower time frame, you could have seen a little build up and everything. You could have taken the trade from around about this zone and rolled it up to the top to capitalize on this particular setup that I had dropped in this group at the zone. And I love how people are actually capitalizing on this particular trade, right? So you can see that it actually then just played out, and this is the particular setup for today, what we're actually just looking for in the market, right? So you already know that all the setups are getting dropped in the group, so you don't have to miss out on anything. So right now you can already see that the market is kind of like playing around at this particular zone, forming a little build up over here. Probably this video will drop before FOMC, and then we want to see how the market will play out during the New York session. And then we will capitalize. If we capitalize during the New York session, we're obviously not going to jump in for FOMC because we'll be done for the particular day, right? But then just using also this trend line over here that we can draw, right? Can use something like this with the wicks, with the bodies, with the body to body right over here with this particular body. And then if we see the market coming back to this zone, probably with the news, we would want to look for the positions right at this zone. But then if it just pushes up to the top without breaking out, if it breaks out of this zone, obviously we're not targeting the buys right here because it will be a short buy because it has a chance of getting rejected right at this particular zone. And that's why I've already dropped the setup in the group, right? So obviously the buying positions, we want to look for them if it breaks out and closes off this particular zone. But everything else, we're just looking for rejections. If it does reject at these zones, we obviously know that we're going to write it back down to around these higher lows that it was forming. Probably will give us another higher low at this spot. But if it doesn't, you obviously know that we'll wait for the breakout of all these particular zones. So nothing too crazy. That's exactly how we just capitalized on this particular move. And even though at the time of recording this video, it's around, 11, almost 12 a.m., the Asian session is closing in 8 minutes. I am currently in a US30 trade. We caught an opportunity on the Dow Jones over here. You can see that, we have certain zones that are marked up, that I like to trade with my zone. So this trade will probably play out completely during the New York session because that's when you want to trade US indices, right? That's during the New York session. But for now, I just saw a really good opportunity over here. You see, we had a little range right now, and then it broke out of the range, and then now we just capitalized after the break, and closed outside of it, and we're in a couple of pips already right over there. And then also I used the strategy of, the build up when you have a little trend lines, right? Let me just disturb my setup like this right over here. You can see we had this week, so I drew a trend line of a week to a week right here. And then I waited for the market to break out of that particular zone, right? So you see we're having a build up at that little resistance zone of the trend line, right? You can see that we're having the trend line like this. If you notice, it always happens in the market, right? The market comes to the zone, taps on, drops, and then comes again, drops, comes again, drops, and then when it gets to the zone, why is it forming a little build up? Doesn't that just tell you that it has a chance of just breaking out because it's not doing like what it was doing in the past, right? So when I just saw this opportunity of the little build up after I woke up, right, I just saw the little build up right over here. I could not just wait for the New York session to start, and I took the trade at this zone, right, so that I can take a few pips. It probably will reject right at this week right now and then probably retrace a little bit, but I would have taken a few pips here, probably like 40, 60 pips right over here, and then just call it a day. Probably find another entry when we're during the New York session, right? But then you can see how we're capitalizing on all the setups with these US stocks, right? The Dow Jones and the Nasdaq. Absolutely beautiful. The only thing that's left right now is the close of this particular candlestick on the 4-hour time frame outside. If it closes with such a bullish candle like this right here is a perfect setup for a buy to push. It will probably even break all of these highs, right? But let's just see what the market does. And then obviously, Nasdaq, we are looking forward to seeing also good setups during the New York session. Nothing too crazy, you know what I'm saying? But if you really enjoyed that video, don't forget to hit the like button, turn your post notifications, and subscribe to the channel. You feel me? With that, it's been Tino, and I'm out. Peace.